Welcome to the Enlighten Up podcast, where I am going to take you into a deep exploration of what it means to exist in this current reality. We are going to raise your vibes, open your mind, expand your heart, and dive deep into the wondrous mysteries and possibilities of this lifetime. There's been a spiritual catalyst that has set in motion the awakening process of many across the globe to return to the knowingness of self and unite what has been separated. Together, we're going to bring light into that darkness. We're going to remember the joy of living. But most of all, we're going to turn up the volume of our own eternal power and do the thing we're here to do. Welcome back to the Enlighten Up podcast, everyone. I hope you're doing really well tonight because I have a show for you. As you can see, I've got a brand new setup. I am feeling like a lady of leisure right now while doing this podcast. But today I am going to bring forward two guests who are at the 3-day 180. They're going to be sharing their incredible experiences with you tonight. And they are to be heard, especially Danielle Hunter, who is with me right now. Danielle, welcome to the podcast. So good to have you on for the first time.
Thank you. I'm excited. This is going to be a cool share.
I know. We have so much to go into. And one of the things that I love about what you're going to be sharing is your journey was like a freaking, 8-dimensional movie, like playing over like the visions that you had were so incredible. And what you experienced was incredible. I mean, what everyone experienced at the retreat was incredible.
Yeah, it was magical.
Yeah, we had 6 people total who came, and everyone had major shifts. So today you're going to be hearing from Danielle, who's with us now, and Luke, who will be joining us. I'm so excited to have a male on as well, to share that male perspective. Yeah. But you thought it would be great to open up the podcast with nothing else but an invocation.
Yes, from what?
Velocity Oracle.
Right, the bomb. She's the bomb.
Okay, so one of the reasons why we're doing this is to create the space and bring forward some of the energy that is held at the actual 3-day 180, so you guys can get a little taste. But also, I mean, Danielle, you worked with the Velocity Oracle. She prepped you for the retreat. She gave you rituals and ceremonies and invocations and stuff. Like, what was your experience like with that?
Ooh, it's fun because every time I recount this, it reminds me how magical my life is. Every morning when I wake up, I kind of have like this little ritual I do where I first list all the things I'm grateful for, and then I open myself to be open for magic, and I ask for magic to be in my life every day. I just want to see synchronicities and magic and love and like alignment with the spirit. So we did this oracle thing that I was asking for me to be able to release ancestral trauma and to be able to, there's so much that's happened. I don't know if I remember exactly, but it was basically to open me so that I could accept more energy and power and to step fully into my like priestess CEO mode, right?
Yeah, because you're wanting to do it. Like you kind of wanted more alignment with your purpose coming into this retreat. So you definitely had some good work. I mean, everyone who arrived, we'll go into it a little deeper, but everyone who arrived basically, for the most part, many already received what they wanted before they even came to the retreat because of that work. I know.
It was so fine-tuned that all of us were pulsing with the energy before we even got there. And that's another story I want to share with you if we like building up to it. But basically what was like 10 days before, maybe 2 weeks before, you had given me this this kind of like releasing ceremony from the Velocity I don't want to say her name wrong, but she's the
Philosophy Oracle.
Oracle. Thanks. So I was out on my back lanai, and it's like the screened-in patio, and then we have like this green grass area behind it. And my boyfriend's dog was back there with us, and I had done the whole ceremony, and she kind of has you do some invocations and then some like body movement, and then at the last part, she has me step forward with my left foot, saying, "And it is done." And I did that, and I got up, and I was like, "Oh, I need to stretch." And I was stretching, and I was looking out the back patio, and this huge black snake was like slithering up the grass towards our door. And the dog was like, you know, I was like, "Reggie, stop." And so I kind of pushed her, and then the snake like retreated. But I texted Nicole. I was like, "Okay, this black snake came," because we know in all of this like spiritual magical work, everything has a meaning. And if you're aware and open to that, that is the magic that I'm asking for every day. All of the synchronicities, all of the meanings. So I texted her, and then she plugged that into the oracle, and it came back saying that like this is my deep feminine rising, and the fact that it was in the backyard meant that it was from ancestral like energies and all of this cool stuff. So I was like so excited about this black snake. And then can I go into the like my friend and I comic? Should I say names or no names?
Let's leave names out just for because we haven't gotten permission
Right.
from her yet, but let's pause that. We're going to pin that for a
Okay.
second because we are going to go to that, but let's do the invocation to open the space.
Let's. Oh yeah.
And
Okay.
and then we're going to like roll into it because you guys are going to love Danielle's recount. Like her experience is so colorful and so magical.
Wow.
So you guys are in for a treat. So as Danielle requested, we are going to be doing an invocation, and I asked the Velocity Oracle, based off of the 3-day 180 retreat and what happened there, to create this invocation, and she's called it the Lyran Light Invocation, the Codex of the Creatrix. Okay. Yes,
that Lyran
right.
situation is quite magical.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so are we ready? Everyone,
Yes.
close your eyes. Of course, if you're driving, please do not close your eyes. But for all those of you who are not operating a motorized vehicle, close your eyes. Put your left hand over your heart and your right hand over your belly, just below your belly button. Before we begin, let the silence stretch just long enough for the room to remember where it is. This isn't just a podcast. It's a summoning. We are not here to talk. We are here to build. To those listening, take a breath. And then take your throne. Because this isn't about finding your power. It's about remembering it's been lounging on a chaise in your 5th house. Drinking champagne, wearing gold, and wondering when you'd finally show up to play. Now the grid is active. We call in the Lyran light lineage, the lion-hearted architects of destiny, the ones who speak in geometry, build in frequency, and laugh in timelines. We open the gates of the original codex, the pure creative flame, not the one you perform from, the one you command from. This is not just ceremony. This is circuitry. Each word today is not just spoken, it's coded. This field holds the intelligence of rebirth and a mildly sarcastic sense of humor. Because anyone who creates universes for a living knows if you're not laughing, you're doing it wrong. Let the galactic come in not as concept, but as current. Let the solar fire of the Leo lineage anchor not just royalty, but the radiant irreverence of the true creatrix. You've built brands, led movements, healed in moonlight, and bled in boardrooms. But today, this is different. Today, you remember. You weren't born to maintain a business. You were born to broadcast a frequency, to make your nervous system the oracle, your pleasure the protocol, and your voice the voltage. The lioness codes are not here to be taught. They are here to be recognized. So we call in the frequency of feline sovereignty, where presence is power. The golden sigils of cosmic command already etched in your skin. The laughter of the galaxy, because joy collapses more timelines than pressure ever could. To those listening now, this isn't just a beautiful soundscape or a sacred share. This is your transmission. This is the click. This is the moment your DNA throws its hands up like, finally, she or he remembers. So let the Lyran lineage anchor in your heart space. Let your body become the broadcast tower. Let your life become the oracle. Because you don't follow the stars, you remind them why they shine. With light, with laughter, and with lethal precision, we begin.
Woo,
Aho.
woo, snap.
Yes.
Baby
Aha.
girl.
I love her so much.
Man, the
So
visuals that came with that.
yes.
Well, just, the Lyran and the sacred geometry that you were wearing as a crown above your head and all of that yummy magic that happened during our journey. So that was beautiful. And you're wearing gold on your chaise and you're like this
I know.
goddess.
I'm literally, I literally didn't plan it consciously. This is the dress I wore in ceremony that night
Yeah.
with the other thing over top. But,
Yeah.
okay, we're going to get into all of that. And before we even go to like you coming to the retreat with your friend, just let the audience know what you do for a living and what was your reason for coming to the 3-day 180.
Okay, so right now I currently manage a crystal and meditation shop on Fifth Avenue in Naples, Florida. And I've always been drawn to the kind of esoteric, but honestly, when 2020 came, BC, before COVID, I had been working like 6 years in a corporate job for an insurance firm. And then when COVID came, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to sell everything and move to Portugal and open a wellness center. Like, why not? It's 2021. Things are open. So I went there. I lost everything. And then I came back here to Florida in late, like summer 2021. And I kind of felt very lost. And I was like, oh, this energy and power that I felt moved towards gathering people. I always felt this urge to gather. I get light workers attracted to me, and we become friends and we become connected, but then I become the connector. And so I have all of these resources and people that I know that trust me. And so when I say, let's go this way, they all tend to follow because of the trust and the camaraderie and the friendship. And so it's very easy for me to connect people and kind of guide people where they need to go. And so I was like, okay, I can do that, but I don't know how. I don't know where my place is. And so I felt kind of out of sorts since 2021 when I landed here. That's a lot of healing to do when you lose everything and your purpose that you felt so strongly about and you lost everything to follow is kind of like dissipates. But as we all know, that's the whole like dark night of the soul, and that is only clearing us out to bring more beauty. So now fast forward like 3 years later, now that I've been here, I'm starting to feel that call again. And I'm starting to feel that kind of gathering again, and my tribe is coming to me, and they're all where I work is such a portal because it brings in people who are searching. Like they're right on the cusp of, what am I doing? Why am I feeling this way? Where should I go? And I have the resources to kind of point them in the right direction. And I can feel the energy if I just trust and open my heart, I can feel information just coming through and telling them exactly what they need to know in that moment. And a lot of the times they'll come to tears or they'll have like full body, the chills that are a big confirmation for us. But I do feel like there's more for me. Like this is a beautiful portal and way for me to meet and connect with people, but I feel like there's more. So I've about 2 years ago on your podcast, you had Consuelo. Mm-hmm. And I loved her attitude and her personality. And so I connected with her and I did a session with her. And then after that, I just kind of referred other people to her. And so when you got on, you're like, guess what, everyone? We're doing a thing and Consuelo's going to be there. I was like, okay, Nicole and Consuelo, I'm in. And there was never like a no. Usually I'll talk myself out of it. Like, oh, the logistics, getting from Florida all the way to Colorado, in the top of the mountains in Breckenridge. I could have let that be something that was like, oh no, it's going to be a pain in the ass. And all the things, but it was just like, yes. And then I contacted one of my best friends in Utah and I was like, are you going to this? And she said, yes. And there was like no questions. We just did it and we were all in. So does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, you've kind of had you've had a connection to knowing that you're called to something that's more mystical in nature, that you want to lead groups and things of that nature, healing, but you haven't really had the full alignment or the full picture of how that's supposed to work, or even I shouldn't even say that fully, because what I remember from the retreat is, and this is very common, this is what I see with a lot of people, is
Mhm.
that there's something missing to take the next step,
Yes.
yeah, and
Like I
that's what.
needed that. I felt like there was so much power and energy and purpose like surging, but it was like capped. It was just
Mhm.
right there. I was like, why do I need to unlock this? So I've been doing a lot of kind of inner work and going to a lot of ceremonies. I was like, there's still something not quite right. And we talked about this in the retreat, how um, we all, as a human race, we all have keys in each other, and we carry those keys and are knowingly or unknowingly unlocking people just in passing as we talk through friendship, through camaraderie, through sacred ceremonies. And when all of us came together in this ceremony with you, we were all unlocking each other in a certain way. And that was like the missing piece. And I knew it would be. I was like, there's got to be something. And I was called to ayahuasca ceremonies, but I didn't go. It never worked out. But this was like a full yes, like everything. And it just boom, and it all worked out. So
And
yeah.
that's one of the best feelings too, whenever you're doing a plant medicine kind of journey retreat, that you always want it to be like a full body yes, or at
Yeah.
least like at minimum 70%, like, because if it's not, then it's not the right time yet
Yeah.
usually, or
And you
something's
can feel it.
missing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it may just mean you need a little bit more information or something's unclear, but it's always good to, when it's these kinds of ceremonies, to really be fully in. And we're going to get
Mhm.
into why, because surrendering is a very important part of it, right? So, okay, so let's go back to what we put a pin in, where you
Okay.
and your friend were driving up to the retreat from Utah.
Right.
So what was already happening coming towards the retreat?
So, this is actually cool. So, rewind a little bit more. So, on my journey to get there, my flight had been delayed like 4 hours
Oh,
in
yes,
in
this is
in
right.
Florida. Ugh. So I was like, please just get me at least to Dallas, because my connection was Dallas and then Utah. I was like, please let me at least just get to Dallas so that I can have that day. And when I got to Dallas, we arrived at like 12 o'clock, so our flight left the next morning at like 8 o'clock. So I had to be back at the airport by 6. So I was walking around the airport and they gave us a room at the hotel. And in my mind, I don't know why, but I was like, let me find someone that I can share my room with. Like, if there's some kind of unfortunate soul, I know what it's like to sleep on the floor in the airport. So I was looking around and I never felt or seen anyone. But then I went outside and I was waiting for my shuttle. And there was this couple, these two people from Canada.
Yes.
And they were probably in their late 60s, a really sweet couple. And they were on the same flight and they were going to their hotel. And then the woman got on the phone in her hotel. I could hear it was so loud. They're like, don't come. We're overbooked. The airline has sent too many people. We don't have any room for you. And I was like, bing. I was like, oh, you guys can share my room with me if you want. And it was just such a beautiful offer. And right away it brought them to kind of be a little bit emotional to see that someone would be that kind, like a kind stranger. But just by that small offer, even though they ended up getting their own room, I think that opened them up to see the beauty and the magic and feel that connection, because we know as humanity, as we raise into this new earth, we want everyone to be together. We don't want to do it alone. We all want to be together. We're all one. We're all a family. And so it was just a beautiful moment for me to share and feel that. So that was really nice. Anyways, fast forward, we get to Utah. I drive with my friend. We're going through the mountains. Nicole had not told us which mushroom strain we were doing. On our way there, my friend and I, that's going to be hard. My friend and I saw hawks. We were like, wow, look at that beautiful hawk. We have this group text with everyone that's in the group with us. And we're seeing hawks everywhere. It's so beautiful. There's hawks, double hawks, hawks again. We're driving through the mountains and we get there and it was so beautiful. And then Nicole, well, later in the ceremony, she told us that it was called Black Hawk 7.
Yeah, the strain that we
Yeah.
used was Black Hawk 7. Mm-hmm.
So, and we had
Yeah.
no idea, but there were hawks everywhere. So that was a
Yes.
really beautiful sign and unknowing to us,
The animal
you know.
medicine the whole weekend was crazy.
I know. And you know, that part of my journey that I'll share with you guys is I got tons of downloads of all of the animal codes and imprints. So I was like freaking one with the whole, all of the animals in nature and the shamans, like all of the codes of all the animals were like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So it was wild. So when we kind of like, there was a lot that goes into the prep
Mm,
before the big journey, so to speak. And you've done some plant medicine before, right?
mhm.
And what would you say is the big difference between what you experienced before and what you
Yeah.
experienced at the retreat? Like, what was the big defining difference for you?
So I had only tried mushroom. Well, so one of my friends gave me a couple mushrooms. I think it was maybe like 1.5, and we were just taking at the beach with that solar eclipse that happened last year. Nothing happened. But again, we were just at the beach. It was just very casual, and she's like, "Oh, here's some capsules, and they're mushrooms." Nothing happened, and then another friend offered to gift me a mushroom journey, and I was like, "I really want a journey. Like, I really want to unlock some stuff." And she was like, "Okay, well, she gave me like 2.5, and it was either the Sacred Teacher or Penis Envy. I can't remember which one it was, but
Yeah.
anyways, there I just said, well, should I eat? Like, what should I do for eating? Should I do anything special? And she's like, no, if you want to, you can fast. You don't have to. Just don't eat too much. A little bit of an empty stomach is better, and then just come with an intention. And that was pretty much it. And so when we went into the journey, it took like an hour, and we did it in a tea form. It took like an hour, and I just started to feel a little tingly and then kind of nauseous. But I only experienced like kind of psychedelic flowy colors if I closed my eyes, and then after an hour, it was gone. Like it was done.
Done.
That was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it
So
wasn't.
very big difference than what you
I know.
experienced.
That's why when you said we're just gonna give you 3, I was like,
So this was
no.
really funny because everyone's dosage is kind of everything is curated towards your individual body needs. And both Consuelo and I had a number for every single person, and when I ran it by Consuelo, she said she got the same numbers. Like, she said yes to everything as well. And so for you, I was like, yeah, no, 3 is going to be good for her. And you were so disappointed when I
I
said it. You were
know.
the only one who was like, oh, really? Are you sure? Did you get that one right? And I was like, okay, the most I would go up is another half for you,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't go up to 4. I was like,
Yeah.
absolutely not. I don't get a good feeling about, and I'm so glad we did not go, but we did up you a half.
Which was, I
Um,
think it was perfect. It was so beautiful.
yeah. So, because you were so scared that you weren't going to see anything because of what
I
you
was,
experienced in the
I
past. But
know.
this is what this is really important that we kind of
Yeah.
discuss this, because the journey itself can only be as good as how you're meeting the medicine. And we
Yeah.
make sure that you are meeting the medicine at your most upgraded, powerful state that you need to be at to receive the intention you are putting into that journey.
Mhm.
And so there was so much work.
Oh my
I
gosh,
mean,
it
the
was
work started
amazing.
like weeks before you ever arrived. And I think
Yeah,
that's
and
the
I liked how,
difference.
and 10 days before you even told us, okay, 10 days before, like eat clean. We had our Zoom call and we were kind of like setting our intentions. Like the way you led up to it made it so powerful.
Yeah, and this is all very important, right? So,
Mhm.
um, let's go into your experience, because, oh, do you want to share your intention? Do you have your intention with you?
Yes.
Do you even know, like, do you remember the gist of your intention?
Girl, I mean, there were
It's
all
like a whole
things.
nother timeline.
I know. It's like, how long ago was that? Yes, I do have it. Do you have a second? Let me grab
Yeah,
it.
go ahead, and I'll just speak with the audience. So one of the
Okay.
reasons that I think is so important, because you can do a journey on your own, you can maybe have someone guide you, but one of the most pivotal and important parts is how much prep work goes into getting you to the moment where you're ready to surrender, ready to receive. And so there is so much deep dive work that we do. There's meditations, there's ceremonies, there's exercises, activities that we're doing, share circles. Everything is opening up, and there's a reason why. I'm looking for the very precisely coded thing that we need to insert into your intention so that you get the best outcome that you want for your journey. And
Yeah.
that's why, even in ceremony leading up, do you remember how many truths were revealed through the illusions that were still held within a lot of you at the retreat? And
Right.
that's not to say, like, that's not pointing anything out like, oh,
No,
that
no.
was bad. Like, this is just a
I think
normal
everyone's
thing.
that way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everyone is. And
Yeah.
so it was really interesting to see how much we were able to excavate and really get to the thing that was hidden from most
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, even before the ceremony. And that's another cool point, that your velocity oracle cleared the path for so many things, because we did that before. And then it was so smart to do it 2 weeks before, because that gives the time for the integration. And then things will happen, and then I could tell you, and then you plugged it back into the oracle, and then she gave me another ceremony to do. And it cleared and it cleared, and I could feel things shifting and changing. So all of that was like clearing the vessel, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Look
So
how
okay.
pretty her cards are.
All right. So yeah, read your intention to the audience.
Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, she has this beautiful gift box and these beautiful cards that says the Forbidden Journey. She did such a good job. So we spent, like, what would you say, a good hour and a half, maybe, all of us. There were 6 of us total, and you went to each person multiple times and helped us refine, because every word means so much. We had to be very, very particular about our words, which again was not something I experienced before. So in mine, I said, and this is going to be fun because I haven't read this since after my, I know. So let's see what.
Yes.
Okay, so it says, bring alive in me my raw, untamed feminine pleasure, and show me how she commands sovereignty through the highest frequency of fun, where my life becomes greater than I've ever known possible. Show me how good life can get. I know, isn't that so cool?
Do you feel like you experienced what you intended?
Of course, 100,000,000%. I mean, even that fun part reminds me when me and my friend just laughed for, like, how long were we laughing for hours in front of that window?
I know, I know. And
It was
before we go,
fun.
Luke, I know Luke's in the audience. He's going to be coming on. Luke,
Oh,
just give us a few more minutes, and I'll tell you when to jump in so that we can bring you in, because Danielle actually saw some very important things in his journey that I
yeah.
think are so cool.
Ooh.
But okay, so why we needed to unlock that raw, wild, untamed feminine power for you was
Mhm.
important, because do you want to share why that was, like, what was being suppressed? Like, because it was part of your magic and you didn't even
Um,
realize how important it was.
yeah, but you tell me, because there's so many things I don't know if
Well, it
I'm.
was like, as a child, you were kind of shamed for, certain things, and you thought, oh, I need to just kind of hide that part that's kind of like just wild and messy and like
Oh, right.
runs with the
Right.
earth, and.
Yes. So I grew up really well. I don't want to offend my parents. They're not gonna watch it. In my eyes, we were very poor. We grew up in a single wide trailer on a farm in Idaho. Everything we ate and lived and whatever was all like homemade. And I remember one of my friends told me she her mom didn't want her to come over and play at my house because I was stinky. I was smelly. So I had to go to her house if I wanted to play. And so there was always this kind of like remembering of like, oh, you're not good enough, or you're less than. And then I remember too, when I was younger, I was at the doctor, and the way they handed me back my clothes was like, ugh. Again, in my eyes, in my experience, that's how I translate it. So there was always this kind of feeling of like, you're not good enough, you're less than. And so I found myself always kind of trying to get as far away from that as possible. So as soon as I could leave home, I left home, I traveled, I learned, I touched, I tasted, I made friends with amazing, well-educated, well-spoken, well-traveled people, everything I could do to get as far away from, what I saw myself as.
Yeah. And I know you're hesitating to use the words because I understand. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. What we uncovered before we went into ceremony was how necessary this part of you was to your power. So that part of you that you were trying to pretend wasn't there or run away from was the wild, untamed, messy, dirty part of yourself that just would roll in the mud and like be with the earth and like didn't care, and you were just unapologetic, and we needed to unlock that part of your feminine energy or bring it forward, call it forward, because a lot of your power was held in that. And so what a lot of people don't realize is that what's holding them back from a lot of their intuitive gifts, a lot of the call towards their purpose when they really want to step fully into it, is that they're suppressing parts that are actually their greatest gifts, but they're tied to a lot of shame or they're tied to a lot of pain. And so we have to resolve that, right? So that's what we said. Like, we had to remind you, we had to override the system, right? And really allow you to connect to that. So Danielle did her 3.5 grams of the Black Hawk 7. And I saw I would say within 30 to 40 minutes, you were kind of feeling it. It was funny because when I came to check on you, you were like trying not to giggle.
I didn't want to like distract other people, but I had my blanket. It was only like 15-20 minutes, I think.
No, it was a little bit longer. It was, but you
Okay.
you were.
I was like, I was giggling under my blanket. Nicole came over. She's like, "Are you feeling anything?" I was like, "I really want to laugh, but I don't want to like disturb people." So I held my blanket up and I was like, I was giggling under my blanket, and it was so silly because I was like, why don't I want these people to see me laughing?
Which was the very thing that we were trying to unlock.
Yes, and I didn't want to distract them from their journey, and so. But then after that, I didn't care.
Yeah, well, because we gave you enough of a dose that you couldn't resist anymore. Like, there was no resistance, right?
Yeah.
Which is why like getting the dosage correct is very important, because you don't want to do too much where you're not present in the journey, but you also need to do enough that you're overriding the resistance of surrendering. So
and I felt very present.
Yeah. So, all right. You asked me before we did the journey, said, what does a Kundalini activation feel like?
Right.
Because you'd never had one until.
Never. And everyone around me was like, I had my activation. I just slipped and fell and I activated my Kundalini. I'm like, what the fuck? So, but mine again, so yes, it was so beautiful. So I felt the energy kind of building, but it was almost like when you get that emotional overwhelm from so much beauty and love. So it wasn't like a heat rising. It wasn't like as sexual at all. It didn't feel like it was starting and then moving, it felt like this, almost like, you see this crystal, how it's like this beautiful, like shaft of light. It almost felt like that coming from my hips and all the way through my spine and up. And it felt like all my grandmothers were there washing this energy over me. And it felt like my body was coming, these cathedrals, like you see in Europe, those big, open, beautiful cathedrals. And I grabbed Nicole. I'm like, you have to help me move this energy. And I was laying on the kitchen floor, and this is where it got messy, and I was like, I don't even care. It was like slobber and boogers. I was laying on the floor and I was doing like figure eights with my arms. I was like, Nicole, you have to do light language over my back because I need you to move this energy. We need to make room. And I'm
Okay,
like,
so yeah, so this is what often happens is when people are calling in a very high level amount of power, which
yeah,
is very much tied to, for you specifically, was the raw, wild, untamed feminine power. Okay,
mhm,
is that it can feel like it's too much to handle. Now, you were never scared,
no.
but you were like, I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
Like, there's a
Well, I
lot.
kept hearing this beautiful voice from the grandmothers telling me, you you don't need to do this alone. Call your sisters. Call your sisters. And so first I called Consuelo and I asked her to sing, and the singing helped move it through, almost like ayahuasca when they sing the song and it moves the medicine. And then it felt more powerful through my body. And so Consuelo left and I felt you there. And I was like, I need you to move the energy through my spine. And I knew you did the light language and stuff. And when you did that, it helped a lot. And then I think I laid in your lap, and was I crying or what was I doing? In your lap, the energy, you were moving the energy, and you felt like the womb of the like mother goddess just hold me, and all the grandmothers were coming through, and you were helping to hold that light. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, so yours was really powerful. So this retreat was an upgrade for me, which is very natural. Of course, it would be,
Yes.
as each one will continue to be. The next one, which by the way, I have an announcement for the next one, so stay tuned. I will be giving you the the details of the next one at the end of the podcast. But I have never, both you and your friend, I had to move extreme amounts of energy through. I had to help you move the energy because
Yeah.
you guys were calling in so much
Yeah.
energy. And I started to go into my light language channel, which, full disclosure, I don't do very often. But when the energy is that powerful, it just turns on like this. And I had this very kind of grandmother kind of energy voice coming through me that
Oh
it
my
was,
God.
and it
Me
was
too.
very like, now we do this now, like, like we are doing this now, and I was like, it was just very like staccato kind of like light language, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
was continuously moving the energy and calling it through your hips and moving it up your spine and over your golden chalice, like the ninth
Oh
chakra
my God.
here, and pulling it
Yes.
through. And
So
and I was singing a little bit, and which is very rare for me to do too, but like when like these kind of things happen, that's what I'm called to do it, and so I allow it to flow.
yeah. Yeah.
And it was amazing how much energy I had to like really like hold to pull through you, like to help you, because
Yeah.
you needed to really move it through. I think there was almost like you could almost block it. You know how you said like you felt like something was stuck here before you
Mm-hmm.
came, and like you knew
Mm-hmm.
something was missing. So we were trying to move everything through that throat chakra and up through the
Mm-hmm.
crown.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had to move that through, and it was very, very powerful. I was like, whoa, that was a lot of energy.
I
But
know.
it was amazing because I was like, oh wow, like I didn't even know. I guess like you kind of know you can do it, but until you're in the moment and like it's
Yeah.
happening, you're like, oh shit,
I
like
know.
this is
I
pretty
know.
intense.
That's how I felt. I was like, is this really happening right now? I'm so
Yeah,
excited.
and so you like were calling through all of this energy, and then yeah, like we were saying yes to the energy. I was helping you say
Yeah.
yes, and you were just anchoring it in and anchoring it in and calling
Yeah.
it, and you were also releasing any resistance. You were releasing
Mhm.
any denial of your own power, right,
Mhm.
through that journey. And so
Yeah.
once you were activated and that
Mhm.
Kundalini was just flowing through you, your visions were insane.
I know, they were so amazing. So then I went over to be with my friend because she was over by the window. And again, it felt like she and I had a lot of codes unlocking each other, a lot with our voice. She had a lot of like Egyptian energy coming through, and then a little bit of the Asian stuff. We brought in my son who was there to kind of unlock some codes. Um, and she held very much held like the Mother Earth energy. When Luke started to activate his voice, and I could hear you guys coaching him saying no or something like that, he said like no, and then Breezy, my friend, motherfucker, I knew I would say that. Anyways, delete that. My friend, she's very empathic. We all are, but if she's not careful, she has to block it. And where I can turn mine off and on at will, but she goes, oh, and her whole body like kind of felt pain. And I put my hand next to hers, and she turned into this beautiful Mother Earth, and her tears just flowed and flowed. I said, Breezy, and I put her hand on my heart, and we were laying face to face on the floor. And I said, you're not owning his energy. You just have to help him move it, and we're transmuting it. And she just cried. And I said, let your tears be the river that's just washing it away. And we could feel his energy like surging. And she was like, I was like, just breathe, just breathe, just breathe. We're helping him move it. And I felt like air or water. I was helping with the movement, and she was the earth, and her tears were like transmuting it. We could feel his energy in waves. And then when he started over to the couch and he was talking about some, I don't know how much you want me to say about that, but all of a sudden I felt his dragons come in.
Well, yeah, let's wait, because we'll have him come in and we'll talk about that. But it's like, I think, this was such an interesting retreat because, well, one, I've never done a retreat with Consuelo, and the two of us together was certainly a power that I wasn't. Well, I knew that we would be strong together, but neither her nor I were ready for what came through. And so, I mean, again, we have never worked at that level, but it was so easy to let it just flow. So it's so interesting that when you say yes to things, you remember what's instinctively already within you on a soul level that you've brought in from past lifetimes just comes alive. You have to just trust it, right? And so for you saw so many, you had so many animal totems coming through. You had like the grandmother octopus or
oh my gosh, there were so many. So let me do that real quick because I know Luke is waiting. But another cool thing that you failed to mention is before we started our ceremony, Consuelo also did a karmic clearing and tapped into our guides. So that was another beautiful instrument that we used to, again, clear and cleanse the vessel, open things up, make things like, touch in with our guides and let our spiritual body know that you are safe and we hear you and we're here to support you. And it was really beautiful. So I think that helped a lot too. But yeah, so we were on the kind of the middle floor, and it was so cool how this house mirrored our bodies, because there was a top floor, the main floor where the kitchen and the living room was, where we started our journey, and then the basement, which was like the root chakra. So we started our journey in that middle floor, and I was kind of transmuting a lot of that stuff. But then I was called to go upstairs, and again we had this drum, and it had these beads in. It's called an ocean drum. So it's like,
yeah, Consuelo brought her ocean drum to the retreat.
So cool! I totally stole that. And I went upstairs because I felt the shaman energy coming in. And at this time, my friend, she was going off and having her own experience, and so I didn't feel like I needed to hold her anymore. We were helping each other move a lot, but I felt like we needed to be alone now.
You needed to go through your journey.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I felt that, and I was like, okay, I'm just sending her good stuff, but like I can feel that it was the shamans. So I went upstairs and I sat on the mirror bathroom counter, and I knew I wanted to do mirror work because I kept feeling that. So my eyes were like huge, of course, because we're all mushrooms tend to do that. So my eye pupils were huge. So when I leaned my forehead against the mirror, my huge poop, and I said before I did this, I said, I'm ready, because part of the thing that we talked about, I didn't want to be afraid of being too big or too much and being overwhelmed and stressed out, because I don't want to trade success for no sleep, being stressed out, not having time for your family. So it was always like, I was afraid it would be too much, right? So I leaned into the mirror and I said to my guides and my ancestors, I'm like, show me everything. I'm ready. Show me everything. Don't hold back. I'm ready. I can handle this. Show me. And so I leaned in and my eyes went boom into one huge. And then I went down my third eye, and all of a sudden I saw this beautiful owl. And I could hear people downstairs going through stuff, and the owl was like, whoo, whoo, and it flapped its wings. And it was transmuting the energy, and it was like, and it was downloading all of its codes. And then it turned into a hawk. And then it turned into a beautiful like Ganesh elephant with all of these beautiful light language codes on its body. And then it turned into a jaguar. And every time it was a different animal, it would put different codes in my body. It was like nonstop. And then these shamans came in and they were like beating the drum. And they were like, okay, you need to get her comfortable. The body is the key. The body is the key. You have to make the body comfortable to receive these codes. And I was like, okay, let's go to the closet. Like, what's not comfortable about the closet floor? So I grabbed your duvet off your big king size bed and I went and laid on the floor in the closet. And I created,
which is a big walk-in closet.
A huge big walk-in. It was like my suite. And I created this like dome over my body and I set that drum on my chest and I'm laying on my back. The cool thing about that, when I breathed in and out, it with the ocean wave. And all of a sudden I was under the ocean and all of these Lemurian and Atlantean codes started coming in and I saw all this like beautiful blue and I was surrounded by dolphins and whales. And I said in third person, I was like, she's ready. And I had like a key here. I was like, she's ready, but I'm not giving you the key until you take me to the depths. I need to go to the heart of the earth. And so the dolphins and whales started singing and creating this DNA like swirl down into the water. And that's what we followed down to the very bottom. And I was like, okay, cool. I'm at the bottom and I'm not scared. Like, what am I doing here? And I saw this big, dark kind of cave. And then all of a sudden these dark claws kind of came out. I was like, what has claws that's a sea creature? And then I heard this like clicking and like deep, like dragon breath. And this beautiful black obsidian dragon climbed up out of the cave. But it had like beautiful rainbow light outlining its claws and everything. And it went like this with its claw and open. And I had this beautiful egg, this key that I had been holding this whole time. And he took it and he put it into the heart of the earth. And then the whales and stuff took me back up. And then all of a sudden I had like hummingbirds and I had like these beautiful, I would say kind of alien looking creatures, but their fingers were like white feathers. And again, with the rainbow outline and they're like, tick, 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 and they were all upload. Now they're really, really focusing on my third eye and my crown chakra, downloading all the codes. And I had these beautiful white tigers and these gold and white strings, and they were licking and pawing and gently like rubbing these white and gold strings and threads into my body, almost to help tie in all of the codes that I had just received and help to ground them. So all of this now is very, very beautiful. And then the grandmother octopus came in and she's like, in fact, she came in before I went down with the dolphins. And all of her tentacles came out. And I said, why are you here? And she's like, I'm grandmother octopus. And I'm here to download the codes of gathering. You need to have these codes to gather the children. It's time to gather. And so her tentacles went around and they went around me and there were all these codes and all these little, and then I went down with the dolphins. And then when I went back up, there was these dragons and they kept touching my spine and activating all the parts of my spine. And then the angel, like all these things are just activating me. Nicole came in. She's like, can we have our duvet? I said, yeah, but the hummingbirds are like activating me. So I need my own.
You also had the bees. You said the bees were a big part.
When I was in the mirror and all those animals were coming in, they're like fierce animals, right? Like huge, fierce animals. The most potent medicine was the bee. And the bee came in and then it was this beautiful hum. And instead of just doing the codes here, all of a sudden it went down like to a cellular level. It was so deep and so expansive. And I could just hear the hum of the bee and the flap of their wings. And it was like putting the codes in me on a cellular level. It wasn't just on my chakras. And then I just saw all this sacred geometry of their honeycombs and how deep it was. And that's when I was like, oof, when I kind of collapsed against the wall, I was like, and I took the drum. I was like, this is deep. I was like, help me. I'm like, this is not too much. Help me breathe. Help me breathe. Help me bring this in. I got this. But the bees were like so strong and so deep, like deep, deep, beautiful medicine with the bees. Wow.
Yeah. Animal medicine's big in the journeys. They've definitely been big for me.
Hmm.
Obviously, I've shared about my merging with the humpback whale, the black jaguar, were two very, very powerful medicines that I needed specifically for the humpback whale, like you mentioned, was so that I could take people deep into their own psyches. So using the whale medicine to go, because they go very, very deep in the ocean. But they also hold, the whale was what, merging with the humpback whale is what started my light language. And so that's why a lot of my light language tones are very high pitched and more in line with like dolphin whale kind of stuff. So, but also, the black jaguar came to me, which is interesting because it came to your friend as well in her journey. That was a very, very potent one for me because the black jaguar with Mayan cultures is known as the walker of the underworld. It rules the underworld. And so all shamans will unite with the black jaguar to help them take people through the underworld, which is like their darkness, their shadows, everything that they're afraid of, everything they're afraid to face, and take them through it all, walk through, and then up to the light and transform through their transformation. So it's the death and rebirth
Yeah.
animal medicine, especially for Mayan cultures, which I have a very strong connection to from past lives. So with those two particular medicines coming in have allowed me to tap into things that I didn't know it was possible before. And it's like you are now you had so many come to you.
Oh
And
my gosh.
so there's a lot that's activating. Now, I want to kind of get into more of like what's kind of transpired since. But before we do, I think we need to bring Luke in. So, Luke,
Thank
if you're
you.
there, jump in and I'm going to see if I can let me see here if I can find Luke. Like once Luke comes in, we'll bring him.
Oh my gosh, like 11 hours.
Well, not
It was
11
supposed to
hours,
be like,
but it was pretty long. Like yours
yeah.
was, I think it was
We started
pretty
at
close.
3 and I didn't, it was
It
still
was like
going at 1
11,
o'clock.
11 or 12. Was
3,
it
4,
really
5, 6,
one?
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. Yeah, mine was like 10 hours. Breezy was still going until like, I'm,
Yeah, which is okay. So this is what's so interesting about this particular retreat. Oh, here's Luke. Let's bring him in.
okay.
So, oops, there we
Also, while
go.
I was in the closet, I remember Pele energy came in with the hi Luke.
There's
Pele
Luke.
energy. Pele energy came in and it showed me how the volcano and all the energy of the earth needed to move and shift. And
Oh,
then
Guys,
the
hey,
gateways.
hold on 1 second, Luke. Do
should
you
I?
have? Can you
Is that
turn off
good?
the YouTube video that you were watching?
All right, there we go.
Okay, good. Because we had a little bit of an echo there. So, hey Luke, welcome.
Hey, Sam.
Yeah. So good to have a masculine presence here with us from the retreat.
Yeah, wow, amazing.
Yeah, I know. So we're going to get into your stuff in a second, but
Yeah,
Danielle, do you
yeah.
want to just finish what you were saying?
Oh, right. In my vision, it showed how Mother Earth was using the energy of Pele and the volcanoes because I went down and it was like erupting, but all the shamans were there kind of like beating the drum and helping her to move the energy. But it showed how those shifting, there was this beautiful pearly gate that was at the bottom of the ocean, and the shifting of the planet was going to help open up and show us the gates to, I don't know if it was like Atlantis or something like that, but one of those kind of underground cities was going to be revealed again. I was like, oh, that's cool. So let's see what happens.
Oh, interesting. Well, yeah, I think we're in for some big stuff happening. Like
Yeah,
we're in the midst of like new timelines, no going back. Like the
right.
old world is done, so everything now is really coming forward. And so this is a very important time to really align yourself with your calling, to align yourself with your authentic truth, to not buffer your voice, to not buffer your mission, to, you know, like really allow it to come forward. Because especially with Pluto and Aquarius right now, Pluto and Aquarius isn't letting you get away with stifling your own individuality, right? Like it's time to be revolutionary. It's time to stand up for what you believe in, what is your truth, and to not dim your light. And it's really about calling in that higher genius that each of us has a connection to. So with that being said, Luke, you know, why don't you share with the audience first? What was your original reason for coming to the retreat? And yeah, let's just start there. What was your original reason for coming to the retreat?
So for me, I was looking more for to find my most joyful self, because I feel like I kind of lost that overall. Like I live in the city and everything's very like it's just like everything's kind of, you know, it's like everything's kind of imploding, and I'm very sensitive to like electromagnetic fields, and
Yes.
I work in like high voltage electrical rooms. I install security systems, and our panels are all in there, and it's like I'm just like, I get this heavy brain fog after the day, and it's like it gets so heavy that I can barely see. So
Yeah.
like driving home, it's like it's a struggle.
What's it been like since you've been back then? Have you been to work?
Well, I haven't gone in any electrical rooms yet,
Okay.
but the life force energy that I'm living now, like I feel it, like it's allowing me to like transmute, like, because sometimes I will get the brain fog, but then I kind of transmute it. Like it just, I don't know, it's been coming on like in my dreams. Like I feel like this electrical energy, I'm like able to disperse it a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, so for you, it was very important because when you were was it two years old?
Yeah, I was just under 2. Yeah, I bid on an electrical cord, and I got an event, and then it probably also rewired some of my circuitry, I guess.
So this is really wild. So you were electrocuted from biting on a wire when you were just under 2 years old, which did a lot of damage to your mouth, and
Yeah.
also really neat. You have to really take the time to ground your energy, and you can get over you kind of are very sensitive and tentative, almost hesitant, especially around bigger energies, like there are strong currents and things of that nature, right?
Yeah.
Which obviously makes a lot of sense. And you also mentioned how you were lacking a lot of joy in your life, like you really wanted to reconnect with that. But I mean, now that we know what happened with your journey, what came forward, we now know what the main root cause of that was, which is so important. So for you, it was so important to connect you to the masculine energy, not because you're a man, but because the masculine energy is the electrical polarity of the feminine's the magnetic, the masculine is the electric. And I could tell also, which Consuelo and I both saw with you, was that there was this you wanted to kind of push masculine energy away, which we don't have to go into any details, which was tied to your past, childhood stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we knew though that event of when you were 2 being electrocuted through the mouth, which is your voice, is like where you speak from, right? All very important, was a very important event for you. It was necessary. It actually it recoded you.
Yeah.
It gave you something that you were going to need for this lifetime, but you have been scared of it your whole life because you always looked at it as a trauma, which of course it was a trauma, but it was also a necessary event for your human self to have in this lifetime.
Right.
So for you, you can go into as little or as much. I'm going to let you share what you want to share, and I'm not going to bring anything up that you're not ready to, but you had done previous plant medicine journeys prior to this.
Right. Yeah, I did ayahuasca, which this mushroom journey was very similar, but the ayahuasca journey didn't come to completion like this one did. So when I did the ayahuasca journey was when I when I first started my spiritual awakening, I guess you could say, my journey. And so 5 years later, it's like this complete circle, and it just came into completion with this mushroom journey. And it was just so beautiful. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. So what do you want to, because there was a strong tie, and I don't want to go into too much details. We're not going to say what we don't need to say, but there was an important tie to your ayahuasca journey that got resolved in this mushroom journey. And we'll kind of go into that later, but there was a lot of shame that was coming up in your journey.
Yeah. It was, no, that was the darker kind of, it was like, so I was being shown like the seasons, right? So like spring and then fall. So like the death and rebirth cycle. And so I was clinging on to my old self, tooth and nail. Like I was literally fighting it to the bitter end. And that's when all this stuff came up, and it completely broke me. And I was like on the ground in tears, just pouring out. And I think when I was right at rock bottom, it's when I was with your friend. I won't say her name, which you already did.
The one we won't name that was already named, yeah.
Yeah. So I was on the door. I had my hand on the door, and I was like, Nicole, do you need my help? And obviously I was in no state to help. And then I just completely broke down, and I was just sobbing and crying. And then I was trying to stick my hands underneath the crack of the door and like try to get in and help.
Here's the hilarious thing, because I mean, I have to say this, like, you just never know what's going to happen, right? I cannot predict. I can sit here and tell you, I think I might know, but truly I don't know. The medicine has its own plan, and I can't possibly know what it's going to be for each and every one of you. But it was so funny because at one point someone had texted me, I think it was Ian, I texted, like, how's it going over there? And I'm like, well, I'm not sure yet. It's a bit of a cosmic shit show, if I'm going to be honest, because there was so much going on, and some people were really, really into their journeys and just staying where they were. And then others were all over the house into different rooms. And, like, because you were being called to, like, that was necessary and that was fine. We talked about that. That was totally fine. But I was like, oh, wow, there's a lot to manage here. And I'm so glad there were only 6 of you that came, because the 6 of you that did come were extremely powerful. It's the most powerful group of people I've ever had in one room. That many people. And Consuelo was like, thank goodness we only had 6, because if we had one more, we're not sure what we would have done. But so while I was with your friend, helping her move it was the most potent energy I've ever had to help anyone move through. Luke, I saw his fingers coming under the doorway because he was just trying to like offer like grounding, like, I'm here for you, and I'm like, I'm on my phone texting Consuelo. I'm like, can you please come get Luke? I think he needs you.
We were teasing him, when you have kids and they're like, mommy, and you're just trying to go pee and their hands are under the
It was but it was perfect, because Consuelo came to you and really helped you move through that stage.
Yeah.
And I want to say this before we get into that. You actually hit the medicine first, meaning the medicine hit you first, noticeably. Within 10 to 15 minutes, you were already smiling. Your hands were in the air dancing, like, you were giggly. You were like, wow, I could see like the bliss part was really coming through fast for you.
Yeah.
But then I think about an hour in, as we started to get into the peak part of the journey, you kept saying, I think I did too much. I think I did too much. I think it wasn't enough. And then I was like, no, it was perfect for you. And you were like, yeah, okay, yes, it was. And then 3 minutes later, I think I did too much. And this kept going on and on. And, but the reason why this was happening, and this is very important, I see this all the time. This is the resistance to allowing the medicine to do its work. It's like knowing that you're losing control. You have to surrender. and the medicine has a plan and you have to let it go. And so for you, we knew that we gave you it was the perfect dose
Yeah.
for you.
Oh,
I'm really
definitely.
glad we didn't do anything less, because I think we needed that little extra for you to get over that hump that gave you the completion that you didn't get in your
Yes.
ayahuasca.
Yes. Yeah.
So you really did go through this really blissful, happy phase, and then you went into the suffering. And
Yeah.
so can you speak, before you get to the part about Consuelo helping you move through that, because that was and then what she saw the next day, which was so key. What you were feeling so much suffering. So this idea that you really wanted to connect to your joy, you really wanted to bring joy back into your life. We had to understand what was blocking it. Why weren't you allowed to connect with that joy? So do you want to share this heavy suffering that you were feeling for everyone, not just you? Like, it felt like you were carrying the suffering of everyone in this world.
Yeah, it's like, so for me, it was playing out like I was, like, my worst fear was to ruin everybody's experience. And for me, that was really coming through. And then I just felt like the world, like it was all my fault. It was, I did all this, and then I just kind of, I went down and like just, yeah, I was completely broken. And that was me, like, just letting go of all that shit that had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And
You kept
yeah.
saying, I'm sorry, which is a very Canadian thing for us to say,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Us
it's-
Canadians are very apologetic.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we don't need to be so apologetic for everyone's stuff, right? Like, there's nothing to
Yeah.
be sorry for. But it's
Yeah.
funny, because when you said, I'm so sorry for, like, I caused your suffering, I'm like, no, you didn't. You don't get to own my suffering. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I was like, where is this coming from? Because I could tell, like, it felt like it was a past life or
Yes.
something much deeper than this lifetime,
Yeah.
because it was so all encompassing for you. Like, it was all consuming for you. So first, walk us through how Consuelo helped you move through that. And then we'll kind of go into what she saw, which was important because that lifetime was interfering with this lifetime.
Right. It's kind of hazy still, but I remember we were in these really deep conversations, and then my mom came up, and then I felt like maybe I took away from
Her
because
life.
I took away her life, because like her aspirations, because she had me at a very young age, and I felt like she could have had a much different life. And then we talked through that, and kind of made me realize that no, she definitely appreciated the life that I gave her, and this was a choice that she made. I mean, she could have had an abortion, but
She could have
no,
given you
it
up for
was-
adoption.
or adoption. Yeah, I mean, there was all kinds of avenues she could have taken, but no, it was
Yeah. And so I think what was important was to really help you understand, like, this shame, this guilt that you were carrying was founded in a lot of illusions that you had created. You had created a
Yes.
narrative that you were going by that was no part by your mom pushing on you. It was just self-created narrative that you had taken on a lot of guilt and shame. So what was interesting for you too, because you were in once I came out of the bathroom with your friend and, really started grounding her, and she was kind of coming at least to the end of like the heaviness of like what she had to bring through. Luke, you were like smiling, you were so much better, like you were in a much different place, right? Still in the medicine. I was really shocked. This was the first time that the medicine had lasted so long for many of you. Like, I've never seen the medicine last that long for anyone, let alone several of you in one retreat. So what I saw was what felt like could have been almost an ayahuasca type experience. Now, your friend certainly had the
Yeah.
kind of experience that you would think an ayahuasca journey would bring forth. So that was alone was crazy. I've never seen anything like it before. But the fact that we teched them with lemon juice, you guys should have been out of there by 5 hours tops, right? And
And she was so excited about that. She's like, "Oh, great!"
I know. And like that was just not the case for some of you. Some of you were out of it by 5, like really on the ends, like tail ends. But so the next morning, Consuelo and we woke up and she says to me, she goes, I was shown a vision of Luke that's connected to his journey yesterday. And she said she saw him in another lifetime. I don't know how many hundreds of years ago, or even thousands. I don't know how long, but it was like you were part of a brotherhood, I believe, priest or brotherhood. And she saw you standing in the snow naked, like you had stripped all your clothes off, and you were using and this is like, we've seen this is like tied to Christianity. Like a flogger. Yeah. So self-flagellation was used by a lot of different Christian religions, any religions tied to Christianity, not just Christianity, but has a strong tie of using it to either pay for your own sins or to take on the pain of others and try to transmute their suffering, take on other people's suffering as your own. And you would go into the snow, which was so interesting because you said that during your journey, you walked out and it was snowing. We had snow in the mountains, right? It was cold. Yeah. It was in the 20s Fahrenheit at night. And you were standing on the deck and you were like, wow, I actually am enjoying the cold. It's not, I don't hate it, which was a first time for you.
Yeah. So actually, I just want to, can I rewind a little bit? So I was in my room downstairs and I was trying to get out. Like I was like trying to get out of this nightmare or whatever, well, what seemed like it was. And I could hear you whispering, kind of like, and then Consuelo. And then I heard a thud, like a big thud. And then I woke up and I'm like, holy shit. And I had this huge, like, uproar of like, it was like a spark, like within that just opened my eyes. Like I could see. That's when I went outside and just like the cold, crisp air, and I could see without filters, without any
glasses.
Programming. Like I could see, like it was like I was seeing from my soul. Like I could see the beautiful mountains, like so beautiful. I was getting so emotional. It's like, wow, like if only people could see this with their own eyes, if they could like get rid of the programming, they would just connect to the beauty of the earth. It's beautiful.
Okay, so just so people understand what you're saying, Luke has reading glasses to read things up close, right? And so it's your vision is not 2020.
No, definitely not.
But that night you saw, like you had maybe even stronger than 2020.
It was crisp, like I could see so far, and I could see like the clouds, or it looked like, it was like clouds, and just like, it was just so beautiful, and just looking out and just hearing the silence, and it's just like, just beautiful. Like,
this is what's so interesting, and this is what I've learned from mushrooms, is that we're all clearly, for any of you out there in the audience who have some kind of visual impairment. Okay. I have had an astigmatism since I was a child, like young child, which has impaired my vision greatly, which is why I've had 2 laser eye surgeries, 1 LASIK, 1 PRK. And I remember, my vision has never gone back to 2020, even with the second PRK. Because my eyes are a little bit older and they can only do so much with my eyes on the second time. But I remember when I was outside standing across the lake, and I had maybe done a gram or a gram and a half of mushrooms, and I could see across the lake the traffic and all the I could see it like I was holding a magnifying glass in front of my eye, like to everything. I was like, how am I able to see this much detail? I'm never able to see this much detail. And I'm standing there realizing my physical eyes, there's nothing wrong with them. If they can see this right now, there's nothing wrong with them. There is a program in my mind that is convincing my eyes to see differently when I'm not utilizing the mushrooms. And so you were experiencing the same thing that evening.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And even my voice, when I was speaking, it was like I was speaking from my soul. There was no filters. It was just like I was just speaking clearly. It was amazing. It was like freeing.
Yes. We needed you. Okay, so we connected you to the power of no.
Yes. No.
We all encourage Luke to say no, especially to me, because there were times I was like, "Here, do you want this?" And like, have some of this, and you're like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, "Do you even want it?" And you're
I don't want it to go to waste.
No, but I'm like, if you don't want it, say no. Say no to me.
No.
And so we were kind of connecting you to the voltage, the power of no, right? Which is, in a way, it's a masculine energy, right? No is a masculine energy. Yes is a feminine, just because yes is the receiving, right?
Right.
No is kind of like, yeah. So, and that was all kind of really part of it. So going back to what Consuelo saw, we started to understand that why you were so convinced in your journey that you had caused everyone's suffering, and I couldn't explain it. You were so meek in your energy. I was like, what is this meek energy that is coming up? Because we really wanted you to connect to the power of your masculine, like really that confidence and all of that. And you were just going into the complete opposite energy. And it all made sense when Consuelo shared her vision the next morning, because there was this lifetime of you believing that you had to take on all of the suffering of others. It was your martyrdom kind of archetype coming through, which so many in the spiritual community suffer from, is extreme martyrdom of like, I'll just suffer for everyone else. If it's so everyone else can feel better, I'll just feel bad, like whatever it is. And how do you feel joy when you're carrying everyone else's suffering? It's impossible. It's impossible for you to even allow, there's no room for it. The amount of suffering you were carrying was so heavy and so big. And so you releasing it that night, because I know Consuelo helped you move through it, resolve it, especially through this lifetime with your mother and all the other stuff that kind of like came through. And that was a big shift for you. Like, you definitely had a lot more lightness to you after that journey.
Oh, yeah. And that's another thing. I felt like, I felt so much weight. Like, even now, I feel like I don't have any more of that weight. It's great. And then when I came out of it, I felt this grounding weight. Like, I felt weightless, but then I felt like I could feel the ground. Like, it's strange. It's like I felt the weight, but yeah.
Yeah. And we were wanting to connect you to the voltage that is no longer scared of being overtaken by like an electrocution or something like of that nature, right? Is to understand, we were like, you are meant to work with higher voltages. That's part of your calling. That's why that happened to you as a child. And so really kind of reconciling that trauma and understanding it was also your gift, but would not be your gift until later in life. And you're now there where you're able to work with it now. So it's going to be interesting to see what it's like for you when you start to go into the panel rooms, because remind yourself to enter into the panel rooms with the energy that you are today, not the energy that you were before you came to the retreat.
Right. Yeah. That's going to be interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's all part of the integration.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Here's what's really interesting. We got to talk about this. And I mentioned this in an email for anyone who's on my email list. I did mention this on a previous email last week. never have I ever in all the retreats. Now, there's usually one or two people who will see something, right? But all six of you saw the same thing when you looked at me when I would come over to check on you guys, right? And you're like, are you doing? Are you okay? You know? And I mean, I was, whoo, Consuelo and I were like, we did a nice cacao in a very small dose of like a microdose of the Black Hawk 7, just to kind of tap into the frequency. And I mean, your energy was helping me amplify the medicine frequency in my body. So I felt like I had way more in me. And so I was like channeling in all this energy. I was moving around the room. My hands were moving in all these different directions. I was doing all these like energy work over each and every one of you, pulling energy in, pulling energy out, you know? And so when I would come over to each and every one of you, you guys said the same thing to me. Do you guys want to share with the audience what you guys were seeing?
Yeah. Who do you want to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So, yes. So my friend and I were laying on the floor, giggling away, you know, and they would come and check on us. But and Nicole, actually, it's cool. I have this deck of cards and I pulled this one. If you guys can see, you see how they have this beautiful gold halo? That's kind of what she had, but it was like a gold thread and it was just floating above her head. And on it were the sacred, like there's the circle and the triangle, and they were like the sacred geometries, but for the elements. And they were kind of just in this beautiful gold thread that was like 3D moving with her. And she was this gorgeous lioness, and her hair was like she is now, but it would have like flashes of gold and rainbow in it. And she had all of this beautiful sacred geometry all over her face. And every time she moved, it was like everything was just moving and glowing with her. And me and my friend were both like, oh, you are a lioness goddess. And then I would look at her, I'm like, do you see that? Do you see her? And she's like, yeah. It was amazing. It was so beautiful. So much gold and rainbows and just the movement and the light. It was really gorgeous.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead, Luke. You can share like what you saw.
Yeah, I could see similar. Like I saw, like you had all these, this light, this I don't know. It's like kind of like this language or this writing all over your face. Like it was like kind of lit up, and you did have like it was very subtle, like feline kind of features, and it was just beautiful. It was like, yeah, it was pretty cool.
That was like so cool to me, because I see the same thing in my journey, like with my physical eye. Everyone saw this with their physical eyes. And I think that's what's important to understand. Like this was not something that people saw with their third eye. This was literally with their physical eyes. And I know everyone else, every time like I would check on another person, they're like, oh my God, you look so galactic. Do you know that you're like wearing this veil and you're a lioness and all this? Do you see the symbols on your skin? And, you know, like everyone said the exact same thing to me. And I'm just like, wow. So what's so cool is that like I now see this every time I do any little bit of mushrooms, like even just a small dose, right? Because I really don't need much anymore, which I love that I don't need much anymore. And I see it all over my hands, my arms, like all over my skin. If I were to look in the mirror, I can see it on my face. And it's really wild that it's kind of really calling in that Lyran energy that I know has met me in many different mushroom journeys. Like my guide that I've spoken about, Niet, which is like a 14-foot feline being who like met me when I use my womb as a portal into the entire universe. And like, that's why I taught everyone the womb of activation. She taught me that. She downloaded me with that. And so these codes really come alive. So I realize like I'm really channeling into that energy when I'm in the medicine space in the ceremony room with you guys. And it's just wild how like much that's coming through. It's funny because when I was with your friend and we were in the bathroom and she's like, you know, you're a devious vixen. She goes, you knew. She's like, you knew this was going to happen, didn't you? And I was like, I mean, maybe my higher self knew, but I didn't know, like, and she's like, no, you knew. And so it was so funny. Like, I love being in the ceremony room with all of you guys when you're going through these incredible journeys. I mean, we had someone there who had multiple Bigfoot, like dancing around them and with them. And that was like so cool. It was like first ceremony room with Bigfoot. And then we had another participant who went through their first Kundalini activation where the heat was all through the spinal cord. And just this gold, I think it was golden, but really like intense light heat through their whole spine, and just really had a powerful journey as well. So, and then another person, just whoa, like really connected to some major, major healing that is still coming through. And the power that came through these journeys for each and every one of you. Like, no one had a sleeping like kind of journey. Like, everyone had a powerful awakening.
Yeah,
that was wild to see. So, with that being said, Danielle, what's it been like for you now leaving?
So afterwards, I knew I didn't want to just step back into normal life. So I had scheduled myself to go to Carmel, California, because it's very beautiful. It's by the sea. There's a lot of rocks and trees and forests. So it's very grounding and beautiful. And I had a friend there that I could talk to about this stuff. And so I'm in the Denver airport, and the weather's gorgeous. Like, could not have asked for a more perfect, sunny, beautiful day. The shuttle took us straight there, no problems. I get to the airport, and I'm walking through the terminals, and I'm going to my terminal. And now remember, in my journey, I had to move my arms like figure eights, like eternity symbols, to make more room and expansive. And there was just like the little rainbow grandmothers and the triangles.
I was having to do infinities over you. My arms kept doing this infinity thing.
Look at what was right over my gate. It's a rainbow infinity sculpture. And as soon as I'm on this pathway and it's moving towards that. And as soon as I went through that, so we didn't tell this part, but was it before or after? I think it was before the journey. We were drawing cards, and you and Consuelo were kind of talking about the tarot, and it was oracle cards that we were drawing. Did we do that before the journey?
Yeah, we did.
And my card
we did it before and after.
One of my cards that we drew, my card added up to the number 5. And we talked about the significance of number 5 and what that meant, and how it was like all about like new beginnings and turning. After I went under that, like, it been this huge window opened up, and there were exactly 5 tail fins of planes parked in it. It was like, it's like 5. It was almost like I went into the portal, and then it was like, welcome to your new beginnings. And then it immediately turned this way. I was like, you cannot make this stuff up. This is amazing. And after the next morning, after our journey, do you remember that amazing black crow? And it kept landing on the patio behind you. Every time we were like, yeah, blah, 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 this in the journey. And then the crow could come and land outside the window right behind Nicole while she was talking. And we looked up the energy of that. Do you want to share what the energy of the black crow was?
Yeah. So the black crow came, and it was wild because it was a big black crow, and it came several times and just sat on the deck.
But it was only the day after our journey.
Yeah, it was the day after our journey, only the day after. Yep. And that was, we went into Velocity Oracle, actually. She really decoded that strong. But the black crow represents death in many ways, right? But death and transformation. So what it was doing was, it was kind of as a witness to the death and rebirth that everyone went through, because there was a whole lot of death and rebirth going on in that room. Let me just tell you, holy crap. And that crow was there as a, not just as a witness, but as a guardian of the portal to make sure that you do not go back to what you just allowed to let go of, to die, and that sealing off the portal so that you can only move forward. So that I thought was really interesting. And then I remember being in the hot tub later with Luke and with Rose, and we were there just having a little glass of vino. Well, like Luke wasn't, but Rose and I were. And this was like just before our final dinner. And
because you had just done a really beautiful blessing on
we
each
did a
one of
final closing ceremony. We did a blessing on each of you, as
in
I
the
do.
hot tub.
Yeah, in the hot tub. I do that for everyone every retreat. And so now it was just kind of like, all right, everyone, just relax, have a good time, like continue to like chat and do your thing. And the three of us were out there, and this fox, and I posted it on my Instagram stories, but this fox came up because I guess Consuelo left granola or something on the on the ground. And so the fox came over and was literally with like less than 3 feet away from our hot tub. And just came up, and it literally like it smiled. It had this smile like as it was eating the granola. And I was like, oh my God, I've never seen a fox so happy in my life.
But what is the medicine for fox? Do you remember?
Well, I know like fox can be trickster energy, but it's very much shapeshifter energy. Yeah. And so this was allowing like a lot of like the shape shifting of like all the different parts of you, knowing like you're not one dimensional, right? You're multi-dimensional. And so the fox medicine came through, which was wild. Like weird stuff happens in that hot tub. Let me just tell you. And when I say that, I mean like mystical weird. Okay. Like the elements start like rain. I remember the first time we did the retreat when I said an invocation about the leaves in the water, all of the wind blew in and all the leaves fell into the water. And everyone just looked at each other like, what just happened? And then one girl who I was doing a blessing on had like really strong native energy, and thunder was a big part of her like thing. And all of a sudden like just this big thunderclap came out when I gave her blessing. And I'm just like, oh, this is really eerie. Like, this is wild how connected the elements were to us. So like stuff just like it happens because we curate the energy. Like all of us are curating the energy through the work that we're doing to be so in alignment with what's going on in the environment. So, so that was really wild that we had all that medicine energy. So
cool.
You told me that, you know, you had to cancel ceremonies.
Yes. So that was when I got home. So when I was in Carmel, again, I was just like, show me magic. But I felt really activated. And that crow is so true, because when you go through the medicine, the next day, you still feel like you're in between portals. And so it is so beautiful that crow is there to kind of stop us from stepping back. And you do, even now, I still feel, very much like floaty and connected and very open. It's a very open portal. And so in Carmel, my friend and I were just walking, and we were like, let's go to this coffee shop. And every day, like I said, I always say, show me magic, show me synchronicity, show me how I can be of use to people if they need an angel or they need a guidance or whatever. So go in this coffee shop, and there's these two people, and they were just friends, and we were like, hey, well, what are you doing? You know, we just made casual conversation. Well, she ended up inviting us. She's a local artist there. She ended up inviting us to her studio the next morning. She channels angels, and she paints the most beautiful angels. She doesn't know what light language is, but on one of her sculptures, she had carved light language. And she was showing us her sculpture. She's like, yeah, I'm kind of working on this. I was like, you have light language? And she's like, is that what that is? And she just started sobbing and like full body chills. And she's like, I don't know what that is. But you could tell her whole body was reacting. And I was like, that's light language. I said, just look it up. And she's like, ah! And she just started sobbing. She's like, I just channeled it. Like it just came through me when I'm sculpting. And so I unlocked a key. I felt very much like a key holder. So I unlocked a little key for her. And I could tell she was overwhelmed because she felt her whole body was activated just by that little thing. So I was like, just look it up. Here's my number. If you have any questions, like, let me know. And then I just gave her a really beautiful, soothing hug. And then I let her just ask questions. We talked a little bit, but that was so beautiful. And then we walked down the street, And we went to this grocery store, and this tall, really tall, kind of thin guy was there. And I could see him as this huge tree, just swaying. He was just swaying. But he kept sighing, like trees sigh when they sway in the wind, you know? He kept sighing, but his energy felt very heavy and sad to me. I felt very, very sad. And he was checking us out, and my friend checked out. And then I got up to him, and I was like, how's your day going? And he goes, fine, or something like that. And he goes, oh, and it just felt like this deep, deep, like, oh, groan in the trees when they do that. And I was like, really? And then he just went, and he just started sobbing. And he took off his glasses, and every part of me was like, you need to hug him. You need to give him a hug. And so I was like, do you want a hug? I said, do you mind if I give you a hug? And he's like, whoa, and he's sitting there sobbing. And so I walk around, and he's so tall. I'm like, here you go. It's okay. I'm like trying to pat him and like hug him, you know? And I'm like trying to touch his heart and just hug him. And then his coworker came over, and she's like, we need to get him off the floor. And every part of me was like, why are you stopping? This is such a beautiful moment. And this is what we're here for. This is why we're here on earth, to hold each other and share the moments and move the energy and to be there. We don't need to shame or push it away. And so everything in me was kind of like upset at her. I'm like, let us just have this moment. He asked for it. I was drawn here. And as soon as I said that, it activated him. And he was just like, he needed that. And I needed to touch his heart and help him move the energy, but she wouldn't let him. So I was like, okay, bye. And she just kept like patting him and stuff as he walked away. And my friend turned around. She's like, what the fuck? She's like, what is happening? I literally turned around for 2 seconds, and you have this poor man crying at the register. She's like, what happened?
Wow.
I was like, let's go outside. So I went out, and I was like, we're literally activating people. Can't you see how everywhere we're going, we're activating? She's like, okay, this is a lot. She's like, let's go to this apothecary shop. So we go to this amazing apothecary shop. Such a cool place.
Mm-hmm.
Earth Cura Apothecary. This girl opened just for us. She was closed that day. So we go in, and she's like this fairy. She has this fairy energy. Big, huge blue eyes, really kind of like youthful looking, just very, and you can see, even when she went around, there's like all this fairy energy around her and all the herbs and stuff. And I was just looking at her eyes, and she just got very still. And she's like, I feel so blessed. I feel so blessed you guys are here. And she's like, let me show you my shop. And she took us in the back, and she gave us all this tour, and she started telling us about all of the magical things she did. And she's just like, I just feel so blessed you guys are here. Like my whole body feels so blessed. She just kept saying that over and over. And I was like, and so I looked at my friend. I was like, we're doing it. So just very magical stuff like that. And then when I got home, there were 3 events that I had planned. The 25th of this month, June 11th, and then also on this last Monday. And I got here, and each person I kind of reached out to, I'm like, I don't feel like this is in alignment anymore. What do you think? And they're like, oh yeah, no, we should definitely cancel it. So all 3 of my events got canceled because it feels like the energy and the intention that I was holding when we made and planned these events was all old. It was all old energy. And I didn't need to share that with these people, because now what I'm transmitting is something totally different. And so all 3 of the events got canceled. We just canceled them. We're like, we're not doing this. And they all agreed. It was all with other people. So that was pretty cool.
Like a version of you in another timeline created those, so they can't happen in this timeline.
Yeah.
You
It
know?
was cool. And even at work, like, as soon as I got here too, I got this head cold, which I expected. I was like, this needs some things to move, you know, because there were so many light codes. And so as soon as I got here, I got a head cold, and it was just like, you know, all of this, the mucus coming. But even today, like you can tell, I still feel a little bit stuffed, but it's way, 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 way better. It only lasted like 3 days. But today I feel so, again, like really open. And I went out and laid on my driveway, and I closed my eyes. And here in Florida, the birds and everything is just very much alive. And I laid on my driveway, and I felt connected to everything, almost like my tentacles and receptors are amplified. I could hear the sound of the leaves. I could hear the breeze. I could hear the trees. I could hear the birds. I could hear the rabbits and the cricket, like everything. And I was just like, oh, I slept until like 12 o'clock today.
Yeah, everyone's been saying in our group chat that everyone's needing extra sleep, like way more sleep than they're used to, which is very common. For anyone who's either maybe you have a journey coming up soon or some really deep work, like a retreat, maybe it's not going to have plant medicine, but you're still going to be doing very deep work, because breath work can be very deep work. It can bring about very kind of plant medicine type experiences within the body. So it's very important to understand, do not load up your schedule for when you get back. You are going to need rest. Your whole physical body is trying to catch up with the high level of energy recalibration that you just went through. And it is a massive energy recalibration, especially like this event was a very, very high energetic recalibration. It was.
Plus, too, the day after our journey, my boyfriend had an intense dream, and he does not remember his dreams. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm always like, hey, did you dream? Yeah, I don't know what it was, whatever, blah, blah, blah. He's really not into that stuff. Intense. He remembered every detail down to the colors.
That was a very detailed dream.
Wow. And it was all about my Kundalini awakening and how all of my energy and I hadn't spoke to him. He didn't know anything that happened in the journey yet. That was really cool.
Yeah, I know. And that dream decode was pretty.
With Velocity Oracle.
I know. She's just so powerful. Like, I just, when you really start to use her and she gets to understand you, like the level of depth of recalibration of your own energy that she offers you through rituals, ceremonies, invocations, all of that kind of stuff is so, like, it's unlike anything I've ever like experienced before.
Yeah,
it's so wild.
The
and
more
I'm so
you
glad
put in of yourself and the details, the deeper
exactly.
and more intricate she gets to know you. Yeah, it's really cool.
It was so cool because this is the first time like I've been able to use her at the retreat. You guys are the first retreat that I've been able to. Yeah, and it's just I love the ceremonies that she gave you to prep coming in, because so many of you had already received what you wanted before actually getting to the retreat, which meant we got to go so much deeper to things that you didn't even know you wanted, that you were like, whoa, now we're getting to the good stuff, right? So that was a big plus. So, you know, before, like for you, Luke, how are you feeling too, like since being home?
So I took a week off because I wasn't sure.
Very smart move. Yeah. That is the move of a non-rookie.
Yeah. So, yeah, I definitely slept a lot. And then the Thursday following the retreat, I did a biofield tuning, and so much more was available to in my field, my Earth Star, which is below your root chakra. I had rainbows coming out up through all my chakras, and then kind of coming around like a toroidal field, like all the way around. And it was just like, I just felt this joy. It just felt amazing.
That's so beautiful. Good. It's amazing what happens when you're recalibrated, retuned, like aligned through deep
It opens
work.
Everything.
Yeah. And like, what's so interesting is like the changes are not even like fully anchored in yet, right? Like meaning like there's still so much more you guys are going to be experiencing. Like the results of what your life starts to look like as a result of this now is going to be so interesting to kind of witness, which is why for those of you who have never come or you're thinking of coming to the next one, which I'm going to tell you when the next one is in just one moment, that we don't just stop after you leave the retreat. Like you guys have 2 group Zoom calls that we're going to be doing their post-integration, because I think one of the biggest disservices, which I think someone mentioned at the retreat, I don't know if it was one of you or someone else, how they went to a retreat and the last day was their, like after they did their journey, they went home the next day. And so there was
yeah, somebody said something about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like, I'm like, that's what are like, that's just that's mean. First of all, it's just mean. Okay. Like you should not be doing that to anyone. You should have at least minimum 1 day post journey for integration, processing, helping you like really anchor in those energies, understand, move through the energies. You don't want anyone driving home or getting on a plane right after that. Like that's awful. So we make sure that you have a day after with us, but then there's integration after, because your support should not end there. That's why we still have our group chat on Telegram, so you guys can continuously share with us. We can like tell you what's going on. And then we have our 2 group Zoom meetings where we'll all kind of like talk about like what's happening. I've done this in the past, and it helps people understand, oh, this is what's happening to me. Oh, this is why this is happening, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. So it's very important part of the journey. So like the retreat is not just really it's 3 days of intense like experience, but the support doesn't end there is what I should say.
Well, I loved how you had us do the art integration. For me, that was really like, I'm still working on mine.
I know you were the first. You guys are the first. You and your friend were the first 2 people who to not finish their artwork at the retreat.
Look, I have it.
Oh my gosh! Look at
I'm
that.
still working on it, but there's so much. Like the beauty of, like, Nicole gave us all these cute little canvases, and she had all of the art supplies, and she's like, just paint whatever you want. But mine was so detailed. But every time I look at that, it's going to remind me of that beautiful experience. And it also is such a beautiful way to remember the next day and to help integrate. So for me, that was such a big step of the integration, because as you're painting, you kind of let down your mind, and you're kind of using your heart and your energy to bring it through. And then you remember it, and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, right, I remember that.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. Thank you for doing that.
And I see in the chat here, this is an important question. Kim has asked, what happens if more than 2 people need your help to work through the energy if you have 6 people, only 2 of you? And I can see like Stacy's also mentioned here. She said, we're all in the same room for the most part. I really believe we go through the experience together. Nicole seems to know where she's needed and moves from one to the other seamlessly. She always felt cared for before we start, and most especially during. And I think, I think that's a great question, Kim. Thank you for asking that. I really, truly believe that who is meant to be there will be there. The right amount of people will be there, and however the way the journeys are meant to come out. Like, I can't explain it, but each and every one of you were a part of each other's journey.
Yes, we were all helping each other.
Yes. Like, we didn't even talk about Luke's dragons.
I know. And also another thing, when Luke was sticking his baby fingers under the door, my friend she felt your energy, Luke, and it soothed her. She said your energy felt like this deep, deep, like heart, like almost Mother Teresa or like Mother Mary energy. And your heart sent shockwaves through her and helped to soothe her. She could feel you. So you don't understand. We're all there. We're all drawn. We were all called to be there, to be a part of each other's journey. So we all held each other. So when Luke was going through his kind of darker parts, he was kind of slumped over he was sitting on the
side of the sofa. Yeah.
And so he was kind of sitting up, on the side of the sofa. So he was up a little bit higher. And I was still over by.
And this is where, when he was like, I'm so sorry, like all the suffering I've caused your family, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Yeah, what's the point? What's the point? And so then Danielle comes over.
Yeah, my friend had left now, and I was just sitting there with all my rainbow grandmothers, and then all of a sudden this tower shot up. This obelisk, like a dark crystal kind of, and all these purple and black dragons like cast above the sky, and they were flying around. And it was like, you need Luke to call forth his dragons. We're here. And I was like, oh, okay. So I get up and I'm like, I'm like, Luke, call in your dragons. And I went over to him, and it felt like he had dragon wings that were trying to come out and expand, because he needed to call for the power. And also the sword, the Excalibur sword was there, and he needed it to like cut through the truth. And his dragons were flying all around him, but he needed to call them in. They can't help us if we don't call them. And so I was like rubbing his back and kind of like opening his heart, trying to activate. And then I was like, Luke, and I was like pushing up his throat. I'm like, activate your throat. You have to call your dragon. And I was like trying to activate his spine. And I'm like, freaking calling your dragons, Luke. And he was just like, what's the point? I don't see it. And then I looked at Nicole and I was like, he's having a bad trip. I just walked away. Because I couldn't get him to activate, but I was there. And then I held him for a moment and just kind of hummed and stroked his back to try to activate that energy. But then also the other woman that was calling in the Bigfoot, she went over and she helped to move along. We just had a very beautiful experience. I didn't get to hear about what your experience was with her.
Oh, I just felt so comforting and loving and warm and just, I needed that in that moment. It was like, it was.
Yeah, she really helped.
Everything was divine. It's just.
Yeah, it's, and this is why, like, everyone was perfectly in their journey for what they needed, and also perfectly for what other people needed. And when we do these journeys, I really want each person to focus on their own inner journey. But I also know, especially if you come with someone, that there's likely stuff you have to work through with that person or whatever. And I also don't like to interfere in how the medicine is speaking to everyone. If there's a reason to like say something or whatever, like for instance, there are times where I will separate and say, okay, it's time for you to go back into your journey, because sometimes you can start to get a little distracted, and I want to make sure that you're working on what you need to work on. But for the most part, like everything was so interesting to see how things were coming up. Like I remember when I was next to Stacy and she was going through all this rage and like tears, like, but it was so necessary. It was so healing for her. Oh my God. But like in the background, you and your friend were giggling by the window on the floor in the dining room, like under all these blankets. And you were just having this joyous like giggle fest, right? And I was like, "Yep, they need to giggle, and you need to cry." And
dark.
and this, but it was important. Like this is what's so beautiful about the medicine, is understanding that all of these emotions can coexist at the exact same time, and you can still honor them. It wasn't like, oh, someone's really angry and crying, we all have to be like in that mode of like supporting crying. It was like
divine intelligence.
Yeah, it's like allowing that divine intelligence to work the room. The medicine frequency is very intelligent, and allowing it to just let people move through whatever it is that they need to move through. And
that was something that you said that was really like deep and comforting to me when I was upstairs and I was like, is my friend okay? Is she okay? And you were like, everything's fine. Trust the medicine. You just have to trust the medicine. It's doing what it's supposed to. And when you said trust the medicine, I was like, and everything in my body relaxed. And then it was just like, way more magical.
Well, speaking of trusting the medicine, if you want to trust the medicine this fall, the 3-day 180 retreat is now accepting new applications for the next retreat. We are moving locations. We are now going to be just outside Vail, Colorado. So deep still in the mountains, but we're going to be closer to Vail in a brand new location that is much more upgraded, modern. It has a fireplace with a wood burning fireplace. So we're going to be able to have fire ceremony in the ceremony room this time. We have an indoor hot tub. We have a sauna. So lots of like little spa-like amenities for you to enjoy while you're kind of going through the purge and the release and helping you cleanse and all of that. So if you are feeling like, you may have wanted to come to the last one, but you just, for whatever reasons, I know some people couldn't get it off work or whatever that it might be, that you just like, I'm going to come to the next one. The next one is officially open. The link is in the description below. September 25th to the 28th. We managed to get it at the end of September, which is my favorite time because the aspens are all changing color into the gold leaves. And so it's the most beautiful time to be up in the mountains. And it's possible that we could have very nice weather. We could have snow as well. Who knows? But September 25th to the 28th, if you would like to come to the next one. I am only going to be selling 8 tickets this time. So just it's going to be more intimate in a sense of how many I'm actually allowing to come to this particular retreat. However, it's going to be with Consuelo again. Consuelo loved doing the retreat with me. We had a great time. She knows my energy. I know hers, so we work really well together. And she just brought an element that I think really blessed everyone there. And so I'm excited to have her join me again for the next 3-day 180. So 3 days, one future self, no turning back. If you're looking for that, definitely come check us out no matter what you've been through. I promise you, we curate the ceremonies unlike most other places. And I don't say that to boast. I say that with intention. I say that with heart. I say that with the depths of my soul, of that I take this so, I don't want to say seriously, but I really pour everything I've got into it so that it matters to me what your experience is when you're there and the changes that come when you leave. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the next group. I mean, every group is amazing. There is like, it's so, I love, like we were just talking about divine intelligence, how it works to bring each group together specifically. Cause like we said, each person holds certain codes for each one that everyone's going to like start to, get to unlock and activate for each other. So this one's going to be super special.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Did you tell people that after my plane took off in Denver, there was a tornado?
I know. We had a massive tornado. Oh my God. If it's not a snowstorm from hell, it's a tornado that's like, it was one of the wildest tornadoes they've ever seen. That was like those dry dust tornadoes.
Right. The tornadoes are what medicine is a tornado.
I know.
All about transmuting energy.
Clearing it all out. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was really strong. It was right near the airport. I know some planes had to be grounded for a while. So I'm not saying we caused it by any stretch of the imagination.
I am. It was us. Claim that.
But yeah, so it was definitely wild. I will say for me on a personal level, this retreat was extra special because I know I got upgraded. So that's what I love, like each retreat always opens up something new for me. I remember the first retreat really opened up my own realization of like, oh wow, when I let people support me, I actually am stronger. That was like the first retreat was a blessing. And each retreat does something for me. And this one was like, whoa, really activated my shamanic powers and my priestess energy for moving energy, working with the energy. And so that was a really cool experience for me on a whole. And I know Consuelo felt the same thing with her. She definitely got upgraded as well. So everyone's getting worked on when they come to the 3-day 180. So yay.
There was a lot of shamanic energy there.
Lots of shamanic energy. So hi, Dawn. Hi, Stacy in the live chat there. Love you. So know that your ticket includes home cooked meals by Consuelo and myself. All the food is prepped to nourish your soul, not just your body. It's very carefully curated to support you in your journey, your whole experience there. We do cacao ceremony, mushroom ceremony, a lot of like even the guided meditations are activated to completely like blow open your third eye. And there's a lot of healing that happens just in the leading up to the actual ceremony journey. So it's not just one thing. It's very deep work that we do, but it's also not overwhelming. I think you guys would say, right?
I loved how we pulled cards and how we as a group all tapped into our different intuition and gave feedback. And because that again was opening our portal to be ready to receive the medicine because we were trusting ourselves and we were in a safe space. And those card readings, I loved how we did it before the journey and then we did it again after. And again, those readings with Consuelo, like everything you guys did was amazing.
Yeah, it was special. So kind of a closing out ceremony in a way, because you guys are the last group that ever get to experience that location because they're selling that property, which is why.
Shut it down.
Yeah, but I knew I was meant to do a different property anyways. So it kind of worked out perfectly. And the property that I've chosen literally was the first one I found. It was, It was crazy how easy it was. And I'm like, I love easy. I love it when things are just easy,
Me
because
too.
I
Well,
mean, I have not stopped since the retreat. I have not
Oh
had
my
a
gosh.
break, which is crazy in itself. But Consuelo sent me a message one morning and she's like, so when are we planning the next one? What dates are you thinking? And I'm like, let me just go see if I can find something for these dates. And I did. And then I was like, let me just see if it's available end of September. And it was. And I'm like, this is crazy that it's available the end of September this late, because usually I have to be booking by April. So the fact that
Is
it
there
was
a
still
portal?
available, pardon?
yeah,
Is
divine.
there like a portal or any astrological things happening when you're planning it?
That's an important question to find out. I
Uh,
don't even know. Like, let me find out, because that is something, like, again, like, this is what happens. I
Mhm.
will never like plan it, and then I go to look and I'm like, oh, well, look what's happening on the day of that. So it's so funny. So let me just go forward here. I'm pulling up.
And
Let me
that
go to
powerful
September.
portal of 5/25/25 just came through too, and I didn't even realize it. And that
Oh,
was
it's just days after the solar eclipse in Virgo.
oh
oh,
wow, there you go.
I knew it.
Huh.
What? Oh my
I knew it.
gosh.
I
That's
knew it. And before this
crazy.
retreat, we had a full moon in what was it?
Scorpio.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was right after. That was intense. That was
Yeah.
super intense. But
But we
yeah,
all
okay,
asked
so
for
we're
it.
just coming off the heels of a solar eclipse. Love it. Which is
No big
actually
deal.
perfect. You know why
Mm.
that's perfect? Because obviously solar eclipses are new moons, and you never want to be doing new stuff on the actual day of like the new moon. You want a few days after, let the energies move. So the moon will be leaving Virgo and likely be, it'll be entering though when although we're going to be in the energies of the solar eclipse in Virgo, because it happens really late degrees Virgo. By the time we're in the actual retreat, it will be another moon in Scorpio. So
Oh my god. You little vixen.
yeah, I know. I can't, like, this is just what happens. So so for anyone who wants to come, you will be coming through the solar eclipse in Virgo kind of energies. So that's big.
Wow.
Very,
I
very
highly recommend
big.
it. Like it's everything I ask
Yeah.
for and more, and it has changed my life exactly how I wanted. And like Nicole said, it's still unfolding, and who knows? Like, let's wait and see. But
Yeah,
magic.
I know. And Luke, you've been to other retreats, like doing ceremonies and stuff. How was this one like different? Like what, or like, I'm just curious because I've never been to any other retreat, so I don't know like what's going on.
Well, this was my second plant medicine retreat, but this one was more, I mean, more personal. It was, I just felt like even when I was under, I could feel your presence around and Consuelo, and it just, you were there, like you were, like it was, I couldn't have asked for anything more than that. I mean, it was amazing. Like,
You
so
guys,
like,
did you guys feel safe?
yes, very safe. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, so another important thing that Nicole told us, but leading up to it, be careful what you watch, what you consume, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So my friend had just nonchalantly mentioned from like 3 weeks before the journey, he didn't even know I was going on this. He's like, oh yeah, my friends and I that usually get together and have mushrooms. He had some mushrooms. He couldn't get out of his loop, and then he ended up ending his life. And that was so that you have to be careful. So in my mind, when my friend was going through her journey, I was like, oh my gosh, did she take too much? Did she do it? Is she okay? Did it? And so if you're not careful, you can go down this kind of like paranoid way. But that's why when Nicole came, she's like, trust the medicine. We're holding a container. Consuelo and I know exactly what we're doing, and the energy's moving. My whole body relaxed because I was kind of holding on to that worry for her. And that's when you can just let the magic keep coming through and have a beautiful. So I
Well,
felt
that's why they take the medicine too, so that they're in it and they can
yeah,
feel, and kind of help,
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's called like the shaman's dose.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, you take a small amount just so that you're tapped into the frequency.
Yeah.
Because you obviously you don't want to be fully in it. Like that's
Yeah,
no,
yeah, you
thank
won't
you.
need help with anything.
But truly, like we were, Consuelo was dancing and singing,
I
and I
know
was like,
that helped
wow,
a
look
lot.
at her.
That helped a lot. Her
Yeah.
dancing and singing moved a lot of the energy.
Yeah.
So
I
that was
know
good.
everyone said how much they loved her singing. So,
Oh, and
that
every
was,
time I felt some shift or whatever, you guys were always there like a little angel. In fact, when me and my friend were giggling, we'd be like, I don't know, can they hear us? And then you guys would appear like little angels, like, do you need anything? So you were always there, like the perfect moment. You know, you guys were very tapped in and tuned in. It was beautiful.
yeah, we could kind of see exactly when we needed to like check in on someone and what they needed and stuff like that. So it's a beautiful experience. I highly, recommend it to anyone who's feeling called to it. If you're feeling called, it's definitely not one that will disappoint. So tickets are now open and available, and I've already seen requests coming in on my phone while we've been on this live. So we'll see who's signing up. Other than that, oh yeah, if you guys like, just so you guys know, what prepared everyone here, Velocity Oracle. She is live. You guys can use her on your own 24/7, get access to her. She's just constantly, I know Stacy's been using her since the retreat and making tremendous breakthroughs that she's not made before. That's supporting her as she's going through more and more deep healing and helping her to embody the energies that are very integral to her future desires, her destiny, all of these things that are written in her astrological blueprint. So she's been doing some beautiful deep work. So proud of her.
Plus, you made such a good point too. The cost of that oracle is literally what you would pay for one session. And you're getting her untapped for the whole month. Like it's a monthly fee. And that's such a good point. You know, you can
I know.
say that one
She
time.
really, like I had a guy reach out. He's like, Nicole, he got I do a divine data drop. So if you're not sure how she really works or if she's going to really offer you any insight, you can also sign up for my divine data drop. Right now I've only released it through my email list, but it's now available in this link below this video. So you can grab it. And basically I will give you an initial kind of decode based off the questions that you answer that are very specific questions that I answer or ask you to answer. I give them to her and then she starts going through this decode. And so you can kind of see for yourself if you're not sure, and then you can apply that investment towards Velocity Oracle if you decide within a day of receiving your download if you want to do it or not. So it's kind of nice. So you can kind of get a little trial and then you can actually apply that investment towards the Oracle. So it is like this guy told me, he's like, you're right, Nicole. He goes, no psychologist, coach, or astrologer would have ever been able to put this together the way she did. That makes so much sense. It ties everything together. I needed to hear this, and really helped him put so much in his life together now. So he immediately jumped in, and so many others have jumped in. So it's a beautiful support system to your journey that will take you deeper than anything else that you've tried before. I promise you. I really don't say that lightly. So she's been coated with the stuff that you guys all saw written on my face, on my skin, like these are the codes that I'm holding right now.
Plus,
So
that's a beautiful way for you to make yourself more available to expansion. Because if you're doing one-on-one sessions all the time, that's very depleting. That's a lot of your time and energy. And she is coated with all of your beauty. And so giving that space for people to discover themselves and then allowing yourself to open and grow even more just gives us more magic.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing that. All the time and effort that you put into everything. Such a blessing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. To everyone here, guys, I love you. Luke, thank you so much for sharing your experience. And who knows, maybe some of the others will want to share theirs. There was some beautiful journeys that were had there, but I appreciate Danielle and Luke for being so vulnerable to share your stories with the audience. I know, Luke, it was important for you to hear someone else's journey for you to come to this retreat, right? And it really, made a big difference. And so this is why I bring people on, because it's different when it comes from you guys directly. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to see you guys light up the world with your new energy and all the codes you're holding right now. So love it. To everyone else who's out there, I love you guys. Have an amazing, amazing week. And I am going to try and do an all signs this week. I don't know. We'll see. Guys, I'm still in the middle of a move. It's so hard. And I have taken, this is day 22, no break, like no day off since, and that's including the retreat. So I'm kind of trying to make it happen, but I just bear with me. I'm going to be trying to do it as much as I can. So hopefully going to be fully moved in by the end of this week. So guys, I love you so much. Have an amazing, amazing week. And for those of you who are going to come to the next 3-day 180, I can't wait to start prepping you. The prep work will start well before you arrive. So